Hello and welcome back to the Spank Me If I'm Wrong podcast. I'm the co-host, Judah, the modest gentleman. And I'm here today with our host.
My name is Charles Spank. I am the lowlife at rock bottom.
And today we are arguing about food. But not just food, because that's a little bit boring and bland. But we are actually talking about specific actions regarding food and how we would approach the situation. So Charles has actually created the topics for us today. So if you don't mind listing off the first topic.
Okay, the first topic for the tastiest episode we're ever going to record is... Wait, what's the first topic? Okay, the first topic to the tastiest episode of Spank Me If I'm Wrong that will ever be recorded is it okay to eat food after you've dropped it on the ground?
Well, I'm going to say it's kind of 50-50. Like, if it's like something that can be easily washed, like an unpeeled banana or an apple or grape, basically all fruits and vegetables that you can wash, I think that's fine. But if I freaking dropped a piece of chicken on the floor with all the oil and stuff, just picking up all the dirt, grime, and dust off the floor, heck nah, I'm throwing that away.
So you're saying like an uncooked piece of chicken, or if you cook it and you drop it on the ground?
Both.
Well, if it's an uncooked piece of chicken, technically speaking, you're supposed to wash chicken, I'm pretty sure. First of all, where does the line fall on washing your food? Second of all, if it's a cooked piece of chicken, if you pick it up quick enough, you can just blow off everything.
That's fair. Okay, let me refine my argument then. If I'm about to put it in my mouth and it drops on the floor, then I'm probably not going to put it in my mouth again.
But you could blow it off. Like, you could blow off the dust and stuff if it's going into your, like, I don't, like, at what point, like, if it was, like, on your plate and you dropped it, but you had a piece on your fork, would you still eat the piece that was not on your fork? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so let's say I'm at a restaurant and I have a nicely cooked steak in front of me. And I drop the piece of steak on the floor. Heck no, I ain't putting that in my mouth.
For what?
Now, I'm not blowing that off. Bro, you and I have both worked at restaurants. You know how freaking dirty those restaurant floors are. And I'm not saying that all restaurants like are unclean, but definitely the effort into cleaning those floors are not as great as it would be in a hospital or like a laboratory.
Yeah, but I pick stuff off the ground like and eat it, and like what's the risk? Like, what is it? Just like a stigma, like it's gross, or do you think something's gonna happen?
I'd say like most of the reason why I do it is because it's gross, but there is some risk to it, obviously, like parasites, freaking bacteria. I mean, speaking from experience, I had H. pylori, and I had to go through 4 rounds of antibiotics to get rid of that crap, and I don't want to go through that again. And funny enough, I think I got that from unwashed vegetables.
Yeah, but if your whole thing is like, if it falls on the ground and I wash it, then it's okay to eat, and then if you got the sickness from washing your vegetables, then does that not stand in your
I got
argument?
the sickness from unwashed vegetables.
Right. But if your thing is if you drop a piece of food and in order to eat it, you have to wash it, would you still that would still fall into your category because you kind of proved your point. You got sick because the vegetables were unwashed. So what's your complaint with the risk if like you kind of proved yourself where you didn't wash the vegetables and then you got sick? It kind of proves the thing you're saying. So where is the risk?
I don't think it proves the thing that what I'm saying. I think it actually proves my case, because where do vegetables come from? The ground.
Walmart.
And the vegetables, Walmart. So the vegetables come from the ground, and then the next thing you know, if you buy it from a farmer's market, they're going to be in your pantry.
Like, most people buy vegetables from a farmer's market. Most of them buy them from Walmart, where they douse them in pesticides and all the germs are gone. So then it kind of cancels out the fact that they're in the ground.
No. Pesticides don't kill germs. Pesticides kill insects and pests. Pesticides.
Which would do what? Give germs to the vegetables or fruit.
But there's already bacteria on the ground before the animals got there. And also, fertilizer, which is animal fecal matter, has bacteria and other diseases in them as well.
Well, if you're talking about animal fecal matter, I don't see you stopping a girl for putting mascara on her face, and that's made from bat poop.
But that's
So
processed. That's processed bat poop, though.
right,
Also,
but I think
it you're not supposed to consume mascara. I'm pretty sure there's a label that says "Do not consume this" because I mean we're literally going to have COVID part 2 if you do.
the thing I was talking about with the washing part is that you said that you would not eat food off of the ground, like fruits or vegetables, unless it was washed. And then you said, I got sick because the vegetables were not washed. So why are you saying I would not eat food off the ground if that, like I said, that proves your case kind of. You have to wash the vegetables, but you're talking about a risk. You just didn't wash the vegetables. So is that not you're
No,
kind of
it's not that I didn't wash the vegetables. It's that the rest I was like heavy on sandwich places. I like when I got diagnosed. Okay, I'm gonna out myself again. I got diagnosed with alpha gal syndrome, which means that I can't have steak, cheese. I can't have any mammal products. So like it's really hard to just cook chicken and salmon every single day, especially when you run out of food. So there were several days where I would go to sandwich places, and a lot of the times these sandwich places are known for not washing their vegetables very well. So I'm pretty sure I'm not 100% certain, but I'm pretty sure that's how I got sick.
so yeah, okay. So if the sandwich places don't wash the vegetables and you're saying that restaurants aren't clean, then what is the difference in dropping it on the ground and washing it in comparison to going to a restaurant where it's not going to be washed and the restaurant's not very clean? I don't see the difference I don't see why it matters why you would eat it if it's or you wouldn't eat it if it's like where does the line fall on I'm not going to eat this because I didn't wash it, but then you're going to go to the same dirty restaurant that probably didn't wash the vegetables and you're going to eat that, which apparently possibly caused you your sickness.
Well, the difference is I don't go to those restaurants anymore, and I also cook all my vegetables now. I try to stay away from salads and uncooked vegetables because that's sick. Having H. pylori sucked. I mean, it was just an abysmal experience, and I don't ever want to go through that again. And if I could avoid it, I will. And if that means I don't ever eat a salad again, I will thankfully give that up.
Okay, well, I think that we're kind of like talking about whether or not you should wash your vegetables. Kind of like we kind of strayed away. Like, is the only reason that you think like, do you think that the risk of eating food off of the ground, the risk of getting sick from that, is a high risk?
Not necessarily. I think more it's really just gross. Like I personally when I see food dropped on the floor, like immediately I'm turned off and I'm just like, okay, there's no way in the world that I'm going to eat that. And part of it is because I know that there's dirt and grime down there. And another part of it is like, well, there's also the possibility that I might get sick.
So it turns you off whenever you see a piece of food dropping on the ground.
Yeah. And there have even been times where I dropped something on the ground that I probably could have washed. And I'm like, oh, that's...
So with that being said, does it turn you on when you see a piece of broccoli get washed?
Yeah.
Does it?
Sure. I'm like, ooh, that delicious broccoli.
So I really don't think, because you and I have lived opposite lives. You see a piece of food, fall on the ground. You're like, oh, I don't want to eat that. I might get sick. And you've been extremely sick because of not because of, but I mean, despite your habits of not eating stuff off of the ground or like being very cautious in the cleanliness of your food, you have gotten sick. I've went into the into an ashtray and I've picked up a cigarette and smoked it, and I've eaten out of the trash. I've eaten off the ground. I've done a lot of gross stuff, and I rarely get sick. So we are the two extremes, and who has gotten sick more?
Well, I think you laid it out there perfectly that we are the two extremes. I think if we took your average person and have them experience the extremes, they would benefit. However, like you said, we are the two extremes. I go out of my way to stay clean, but I still get sick for who knows why. And you go out of your way to do extremely gross things, and you don't get sick for who knows why. So, like,
well, I think it's because it's like whenever you have a baby. Whenever someone has a baby, and certain parents will, if anyone wants to touch them or hold them, they say like, okay, spray your hands with hand sanitizer, wipe your hands off. They wipe off their baby. That weakens their immune system over time because they're not able to fight off the germs early on, and they're not able to build up the immune system that combats like common illnesses. So the baby will end up getting sick. So I think that over time, since I have been eating out of the trash, I don't really care if food falls on the ground. I eat after other people. I'm not very cautious. I think that my immune system is stronger than yours. So I would argue that doing all the things that I do is more of a positive.
I don't think that's necessarily true because there are some diseases and bacteria that your baby, no matter where you come from, cannot fight because they're a newborn. They have no immune system. And in order to give them a strong immune system, they have to experience a little bit of bacteria at a time. And also, large health circles are saying now that you should not let people kiss your baby and you should not let people touch your baby like in the very early stages of birth because of this same reason. Because their immune system has just would be compromised. And I understand what you're saying. You're saying that these babies and these people need to experience a little bit of risk in order to build up an immunity. However, that only works with like small things, like small bacteria and small doses of risk. If I were to go jump in a vat of radioactive material and I'm like, well, I'm building up an immunity so I can go freaking so I can be protected from the radiation from the sun. Like, that's not going to happen because you're just overloading your immune system.
But you're not. But the reality is you're not doing that. You're not like anytime I get a plate of food, I'm not dumping the entire plate on the ground and taking a fork and then, or I guess taking my freaking unwashed hands and shoveling the food into my mouth and doing it to that extreme. I'm saying like if food drops on the ground, it is not that big of a deal to eat it because like I said, first of all, I think if you get over the stigma that it's gross, I don't think it's a big deal. And I do think it strengthens your immune system. I think, like you said, if you did it to an extreme, like I think if I freaking went to the dumpster and I found the smelliest thing or the freaking moldiest looking thing, I think that possibly I would get sick, but I'm not doing that. I'm doing it on the small chance that a piece of food falls on the ground, which does not happen every single time that I eat.
You see, I don't see the reward out of that risk. I do not see the benefit out of that risk.
Well, it's just kind of like
there because you may eat food with small doses of bacteria and then build up an immunity. That is true. That could happen. However, you could also pick up a piece of food with parasites that you don't have an immunity to. I mean, like nobody has immunity to parasites unless you just have a freaking iron-willed stomach. And or you could pick up a piece of food with just the worst thing possible and then get sick both in those scenarios. So like I just don't see literally it's just it's just a couple grams of food I'm going to eat in another couple hours. There's really no reward out of risking contaminating my body or contaminating my mouth.
Well, I really don't think it's like, here's the thing, like you're arguing like there's like a risk reward factor, which I think technically there is. Like if you took every little small thing that someone did, there is technically a risk reward factor. But my thing is like, I don't think it should be that big of a deal. Like I don't think that whenever I drop food on the ground, I'm like, oh man, I could possibly get sick, or oh, that's kind of gross. Like I just pick it up and eat it. Like I don't think about that because it's not that big of a deal. Like like I said, there could be a reward or risk reward, but I don't think about the risk reward. It's just like a thing.
Okay, but why is it a thing? Why do you eat the food?
Because it's just what I do. It's like, I mean,
no, it's not just because of what you do. There's motivation behind it because
whenever I'm by myself and there's
because you're hungry, because it was the last piece of food and you don't want to waste it and you're not a wasteful person. Like why? Like what's the point in eating the food if there's no attachment at all?
Because I enjoy the taste of the food.
Okay, so you enjoy the taste of the food, but I mean that's still I still don't see like
I think that if you took a day and you just like stopped caring about as many things as you do and you kind of just lived and you weren't like, oh, this possibly could make me sick. I mean, it's a little different because you You are a little bit sick now, so it could, so I understand. But, I mean, I think that if you had a clean slate, you know, because you were doing this before you got sick. I think if you had a clean slate and you went just one day and you're like, you know, I really don't care. Like, I mean, I got stuff to do. I have to do this, but you're like, I just don't want to do it. And you didn't do it. And then, or like, you know, your food falls on the ground. You're like, I'm just going to eat it. You know, you would realize that a lot of this stuff doesn't really matter.
Well, it's not like I go around like looking at food on the floor and be like, oh, that's contaminated. I'm going to freaking compromise my stomach biome. No, I just, when I see food on the ground, I'm like, oh, that's gross. And I don't think anything of it because one, I know that I'm going to have another meal. Two, I'm not in any situation where I have to preserve that meal. And then three, I mean, there's no point in contaminating my mouth and stomach. So there's just multiple reasons. There's not just one reason why I do it. Like there's not like, oh my gosh, I'm so fearful of my stomach being contaminated. No, I mean there's multiple reasons, which is why I ask you, what are the multiple reasons for eating the food? Because it just sounds like you do it just to do it, which at that point it's not even for a benefit. At that point, it's just theatrical. Like, oh, I'm just trying to gross out people around me.
No, I don't even think it's theatrical. Like I do it whenever I'm alone in my house, and I don't think that it's. Again, I don't think that there needs to be. I mean, I could give reasons for it, but I mean, I don't think that everything needs a reason. Like, if I want to give reasons for it, I mean, if you think about it to a base level, and you're like, okay, this food fell on the ground. Oh, you know, that's really gross. That's just like, you know, it's just kind of like a mind over matter thing. Like, whenever you think about it, the food hitting your mouth is just matter and energy. It's not anything crazy. Like, it's the same thing as if like I took a stick and I put it in a pile of dog poop. You know, it's going to be the same thing as if I put my finger in the pile of dog poop, but my mind has a connection to my finger. So that's where that comes in. Like it's not like whenever you realize that it's not that big of a deal, that's why, you know, that's whenever you start doing things that are, you know, kind of out of the ordinary, you know.
Right, but what I'm saying is I have several reasons why not to do it. I have several reasons why the cons of picking up the food outweigh the pros. For you, the pro is you just get a short-term satisfaction, and that's it. You get a little taste of the food and whatever dirt was on the ground, and then that's it. Because scientifically, they've disproven that blowing off your food does not work. It does nothing. It's purely aesthetic. But for me, there are more cons to eating food off the ground than there are pros. So
Well,
there's just no.
I don't sit
there's just
down
no
and I make
point.
like a I don't make a pros and cons list to every single thing that I do. It's kind of like if I picked up a TV remote with my left hand instead of my right, I wouldn't think of the pros and cons of that. I wouldn't think, oh my gosh, if I start using my left hand more, then maybe there's gonna be like my left hand's gonna start cramping more because my right hand's used to
Well,
picking up the
that's
TV remote.
an extreme. That's a very extreme comparison to the situation. What I'm saying is I actually have reasons why I don't do it, but you don't really have any reasons why you do it besides the short-term satisfaction.
Do you unplug every lamp in your house
No.
when you go to bed?
I do unplug some things, but I don't unplug everything. No.
Okay, so there are a lot of cons as to why you should unplug
But
everything.
we're not arguing about lamps.
Right? No, we're not arguing about we're not arguing about lamps, but there is actually a bigger picture. Like you would save a bunch of money if you unplugged your lamps. But you don't even think about it because it's not that big of a deal. It's the same thing. It's the reason that I don't think about whenever I eat food off the ground. Sure, there's a lot of cons to it, but I don't think about it because it's not that big of a deal, and I've surpassed the mental barrier of oh that's gross and oh I might get sick.
So you agree that there are several cons to it, as you just said, but you do not agree that it should be a big deal.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cons to I think there's cons to like a bunch of things that people just kind of do every day. Kind of like I said, like unplugging your lamps. No one's gonna do that, you know, or unplugging your phone charger when you're done with it. No one does that. Just stuff like that. Like
Okay, so you agree with me that there are a lot of cons to picking up the food and eating it off the ground, but now let's move on to the next thing. What
No, that's not how you win.
what are the pros to eating it off the ground? The only benefit that you've told me is that you may build up an immunity to it, and then you didn't even really touch over the fact that it gives you a satisfaction either. Those are two like very minuscule pros that you've given me to eating the food.
I think that it's a gateway into a better lifestyle.
Okay, how?
Because the second that you stop worrying about small things like, do I need to eat food off the ground? That's whenever you can worry about bigger topics.
Okay, but I don't worry about eating food off the ground. I just see it on the ground. And I'm like, well, I'm done with that food, and I like, it doesn't ruin my day. Like, for instance, the freaking saying, "Don't cry over spilled milk." That's
you would
me.
Cry over it, buddy.
I don't
You would
freaking
cry over it.
No, I wouldn't.
You would freaking cry over it.
I don't. It's just part of life. Accidents happen. I drop food on the ground. Well, it's food.
So if you okay, the difference between you
I don't worry about it because I know that I'm going to get a meal soon after.
So if someone came home, you went to a friend's house and they said, okay, there's 8 people at this party, including you, and we have 1 slice of pizza per person, and it is, I'm telling you right now, scientifically proven, it is the best slice of pizza ever. And you drop the pizza on the ground, you would be like, okay, I eat the pizza. I'd eat the freaking pizza. That's the difference between you and me, is that it's just,
but
you say it's not that big of a deal.
Food does not have that type of weight on me. If someone said this is scientifically,
you wouldn't want the experience though.
Okay. For instance, let me give you a real life example. Someone said, Judah, this is scientifically the best food ever, proven with science and statistics.
And it was a grape.
What? No. So, and it had pistachios on it, which I'm extremely allergic to, that it would send me to anaphylactic shock and I'd have to go to the hospital.
I'll send you anaphylactic shock. That's just how good it would be, as your body couldn't contain how good it tastes.
So let's say in order to get that satisfaction, they had to add pistachios to it. Like, people, for whatever reason, the majority of people were like, pistachios on pizza makes pizza perfect. I would not eat that pizza because I do not care. There's just no point. Like,
the difference between our examples is my pizza's not going to kill you, just dropped on the ground.
Like, but like, still, it kind of ruins the experience. Like, this is the best pizza in the world, but I dropped it on the ground. And I'm smarter than that. I'm freaking gonna cut off the parts of the pizza that didn't touch the ground.
What if it fell flat on its face on the cheese and on the freaking whatever, like the toppings?
And what I'll do is I'll throw it away.
How do you cut off the pieces that fell on the ground whenever it's gonna lay flat?
I don't know if it hit if it hit at an angle. If it hit at an angle
and
or something.
And you catch it before it hits the ground, like the tip of it just slaps the ground.
What if I'm Spider-Man and I freaking catch it and half of it touches the ground? Then I cut the half off that didn't touch the ground. But like, what I would do in a realistic scenario is I would probably throw away that piece of pizza or give it to my dogs or something, and then
you would give that pizza to your dogs.
Yeah, because dogs have stronger immune systems than us.
It's the best piece of pizza you'll ever have in your life.
And then I'll ask one of my buddies, like, hey, my pizza fell on the ground. Do you mind splitting that with me?
And I'd say, no, eat that pizza. And you fed it to your dogs. Like, I ain't giving you a pizza if you just gave the best pizza to your dog.
Okay, I feel like more people out there would be willing to share the pizza with me if I dropped it on the floor.
Okay, well, you thought more people are willing, but guess who won in the comment section last time, buddy?
About child gambling, sure. It seems like more people are agreeing about child gambling. However, how many people agree with not washing your hands? I feel like the same crowd that agree that you should wash your hands would agree with me about throwing away the pizza. The best pizza in the world dropped on the ground.
I don't know. Let's try it out. Let's look up the scientifically best. We're going to ChatGPT this. We're going to look up what flavors pair well together. I'm going to make the pizza, and then I'm going to stomp on it a little bit, and I'm going to see who's going to eat it.
It'll be you. It won't be me, buddy. It'll be you. You're going to be eating on stomped on pizza. Oh,
Don't you like wine?
So
don't you like wine?
I mean, it's okay.
Okay, so you have drink wine.
Sure.
Guess how they make wine? They stomp on the grapes, buddy.
Okay, but then it goes through the fermentation process that kills off all the bacteria. There's science behind it.
So that's the same thing as me blowing it off.
No, it's not. It's been scientifically disproven. When you blow it off, it does nothing. In fact, you're just adding bacteria from your mouth onto the freaking food.
Honestly, I do not care about the bacteria in my mouth because it is in my mouth.
Right, but let's say you were to blow it off and they hand it to somebody else, you've just made it worse. However, if you blow it off and eat it yourself, then it does nothing.
Like I said, I think that I just don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, I mean, it's difficult to have an argument whenever two sides are like, I don't think it's that big of a deal because of this, and both sides are like,
Yes.
well, it's not that big
Like
of a deal.
I've said that it's not a big deal. However, you have not given me a reason to convert, is what I'm
I
saying.
gave you
I've
three
given
reasons.
I've given you reasons to convert, and you even agreed with me on one of them. But you said that it's not.
I did
You
not agree
said,
with you with one on the. I did not agree with one of them.
yeah, you did. You said there are a lot of cons.
I said there. I
The,
said yeah, but I said if you were to look at every single thing that you do, there are a lot of cons. Like, I could pick out cons with every single thing that you do, and I think that some cons need to be forgotten about. Like, I don't think that all cons matter.
no, but earlier in the episode, you did agree with the chance of getting sick about eating food from the ground. You did agree with that earlier.
Right, but I don't think it's. I don't. I think like I said, on a
However,
technical level, it yeah, but I don't think it's that big of a deal.
However, I do not agree with you on the satisfaction that I would get from eating that food, even if I forgot about it, even if I just let it go. It
You
just,
don't.
I don't think that pro outweighs
What do you
the
not?
cons.
What do you? But okay. I don't think that you're. I don't think that. I agree with you that there's a lot of cons, but I don't agree that they outweigh the stuff that I'm saying. So at the very end of the day, do you not agree with the fact that like if you, it's just like a mind over matter thing. Like you could agree with that, but you don't think that the cons, like that particular thing that I'm saying, outweighs your stuff.
I don't. Okay, you're saying like the child gambling argument that by changing your perspective on eating food off the ground, it'll be like a gateway drug to a better life of not caring about other things. I do not agree because I already take that idea of not caring and apply it to the food that's on the ground, okay? Because when the food drops on the ground, I no longer care about that food and I throw it away and I don't cry about it. I don't worry about it. It's just food on the ground. So what you are trying to say is that I will have a better experience of not caring by eating the food on the ground, and I disagree. I don't. I because I already share that
Well, like I said,
I already
like
share that sentiment without eating it on the ground.
why are you getting sick when you've lived the life that you have, and I'm not getting sick?
Okay, because they did not wash the vegetables. I got
Right,
sick.
but
I got sick because somebody.
if I ate those same vegetables, I wouldn't get sick.
That's not necessarily true, and we can't argue that either because you weren't there.
No, I've done things that like I said, I've done like so many disgusting things in my life that like if you were in that situation, it wouldn't even be a thought in your head. Like you would not think I'm not gonna pick up these cigarettes out of this ashtray and put it up to my mouth. Or I'm not gonna pick a cigarette off the ground and put it up to my mouth. I've done that, and I'm not sick. And I've done that several times. And like if you're talking about the chances, there's a chance that somebody who smoked that cigarette had an STD. But I'm perfectly healthy.
Okay, here's the deal. I don't think we could argue that because we're talking about statistical likeness of something happening. If you went through that experience and did not get sick, most likely if I went through that situation, I may not have gotten sick either, and vice versa. If you went through my situations, there's probably a chance that you would have gotten sick, and there are chances that you would not have as well. But we do not know because we did not experience the same
But I'm saying
experiences.
overall, I'm saying like over the course of time since I was a kid, I've been putting myself in a lot of situations where most people would say that's disgusting. Like in kindergarten, I was known as the gross kid. I was eating out of the trash. I was eating food off the ground. I've set myself up in a position where I have for my entire life been in this position. You've set yourself up in a position where you try to be clean. I don't know about your entire life, but like for the most part, I mean, I don't know how you were as a kid, but you are still getting sick. So you're looking at somebody who has set themselves up in a disgusting situation for their entire life, and you're looking at another person who set themselves up as a very, very clean person, and you see which one got sick.
Okay, then why do you still get sick with your dog hair in your house?
I don't get that's allergies.
But you said that you get sick when you do the dusting, that like the cleanliness of the room makes you sick. But you also get sick when you're petting your dog and the dandruff of the dog's hair get into your nose as well. And you have not built up an immunity to those things.
I don't get sick with my dog anymore.
You probably
that's when I first got him. I don't get sick whenever like he lays in the bed and I don't wake up sick.
Well, I guess I have to take your word on that you don't get sick anymore. But
I mean, I don't come over
and
here and
like,
I'm like stuffy or anything. I used to, like, my eyes would be red and stuff. Not, you've seen me like very recently quite a bit, and I'm never sick.
how often do you get sick? Like, how often do you get?
I
Obviously,
was,
obviously, you have not had any serious illnesses, whether because you don't go to the doctor and get diagnosed, or because you just don't care and you just walk off the symptoms.
I would say, so
But how
like, how many
often do you
times have
get
I
like,
had symptoms?
yeah, like how many
It's
times have you
probably
had
like,
cold or flu symptoms in a year?
I'd probably say it's like less than 5 times.
So,
I would
so
say one, but I
one,
don't want to say just
so
one.
1 to 4 times in a year, you still get sick.
Yeah.
According to your philosophy, how come you still get sick 1 to 4 times a year?
According to your philosophy, why do you get sick all the time?
But I'm getting sick for different reasons, and I got sick because of someone else's misconduct.
Right, but
If I was the
I
one washing those vegetables, I most likely would not have gotten sick. But I wasn't the one in charge of those vegetables. Some restaurant cook was in charge of those vegetables. That made me sick.
right, but you're talking about one encounter in your
But
entire life. I'm talking
so
about my entire life.
you've gotten
Up to
you've
this
gotten
point.
sick 1 to 4 times in your entire life.
No. I'm talking about, like, I'm saying, how often before you got like these extreme illnesses, like how often would you get sick a year?
Maybe like 2, 3 times, maybe even 4 times a year, same as you.
Okay, so obviously it doesn't matter because guess what? I've been doing this, you've been doing that, and guess what? We're the same.
However, we're talking about things that you can handle and things that are in other people's hands. I got H. pylori because of someone else. However,
All my
when
all my sicknesses are from the weather, like it's cold related.
all
Very
of them,
rarely, very rarely will something. I mean, I can't remember the last time I got like I don't know. I've never had like a freaking a tapeworm, you know. Like
mhm.
I can't remember something that wasn't from the weather.
Here's the thing: you're arguing doing these things because it's a gateway into a free lifestyle. Like you have no chains locking you down. And I'm arguing that doing these things to protect your health and protect your livelihood. So, the reason why I bring these things up because one of your arguments you also said that you will increase your immunity and you still get sick. Although you say you get those because they're weather related, you also have a history of not going to the doctor and getting a full diagnosis.
Right, but
so
I'm
how do
saying,
we? So there's no way to prove that that's
but
because of
all
the
of them
weather
are
or
like,
because
I haven't had anything more than a cough and a sneeze in a long time. I can't remember the last time it's been like, oh, I'm so sick that I'm throwing up. You
Mhm.
know, it's always like a head cold symptoms. It's never anything more. I really can't remember the last time that it was something more than like head cold symptoms, which is why I wouldn't go to the doctor for that.
And
Be-
before I got diagnosed with these serious illnesses, I was also in the same suit. Most of my sicknesses were weather related. Almost every year, I get sick around April, around spring, and fall every year.
okay,
And
so you know what? You know what?
so if it that means that, and I do go to the doctor. Like when I'm feeling sick, I go to the doctor, and they're like, "Bro, just suck it up." They're like, "Just suck it up. Just take some like this medicine because you might have an infection because of the weather."
So, you know what? With that being said, I think this is like a true agree to disagree, and I very rarely will say this, but I think obviously if we're equal, I can keep living my life, you can keep living your life, and we're gonna be the same exact thing.
Okay.
Honestly, I think if you fall somewhere in the middle, that's who we need to argue against because those people need to pick a side.
Exactly.
And guess what?
So listen, if you're listening to this, if you're listening to this podcast,
if you're in my comment section and you say, sometimes I do. Guess what? I hate my fans. I don't care. You need to pick a side.
listen, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're a 50-50, like a 5-second rule type of guy, you need to just suck it up and choose a side,
We're
okay?
spanking you.
We're spanking you. We're hunting you down and we're spanking you. Because you're wrong. All right, let's move on.
All right, the second topic is your opinions on double dipping.
You know what's like funny? Like we just had that entire argument about freaking.
And you love sucking the germs off of people's mouths.
We just had that entire argument about dropping food on the ground, and then I'm about to freaking say I don't really care about double dipping.
So obviously you're a hypocrite and you fall in the middle. You might as well be one of my fans.
Well, not necessarily. It's more like a trust thing, you know? Because like I don't double dip with strangers. I don't freaking
Okay,
go.
what if
I
like
don't-
Obama dipped a fry into ketchup and he gave it to you?
That's not double dipping.
If Obama, okay, when he gave the ketchup to you, like he double dipped in the ketchup and he handed the ketchup over to you,
That's still that the double dipping is when you dip and then bite and then dip again, and
and then he hands you the ketchup that he double dipped in.
that's tough. I mean, it makes it a little bit weirder because he's handing me the fry, like like it is different.
Now he hands you the ketchup.
If he like like he slid the cat, like it's such a weird scenario. Like why can't we just both be sharing the ketchup? Like why
Okay,
does he have to slide the ketchup across the table? Like Liz.
All right, so what happens if a world-renowned author, okay,
All right.
okay, and she does the same exact thing, okay? You know how authors do like J.K. Rowling, like those are their names, like what's the guy? The
Wait,
freaking,
why are we changing
what's-
from Obama?
what's-
Obama can
what's-
still be there.
What's the
weird
what's
part
the
is that
Goosebumps writer?
he's
Who's the writer of Goosebumps? It's like R.L. Stein. You know how
Yeah.
they do that like stupid thing with their initials? All right, what if you got slid a bowl of ketchup from H. pylori?
No. If I was sharing a this is so weird. Why are we like
Because
anyway.
you said you would do it with strangers. Okay, would you eat the ketchup after you double dipped with me?
Yeah.
Okay, well no. Okay, so okay, why do you care that like if you think I'm this gross person, why do you care not to double dip after me? Or I guess eat the food after I double dipped.
Because I think the freaking food on the floor is more dirty than the food from your mouth.
But the food goes into my mouth that was on the floor.
Okay, I don't know. I make a disconnection when it comes to those.
Oh, so
things.
you agree that it doesn't matter? It's a mind over matter thing.
No, because it's not mind over matter when it actually hits the floor. Because when it hits the floor, there's actual bacteria there.
Right,
But
but you said that the freaking germs, if I blow on the food and I hand it over to you, the germs from my mouth transfer over to the person that I give it to.
For somebody, if you are worried about something like that, like
Are you-
the argument was
So you don't worry about it.
The argument for that was that blowing on your food does nothing unless you were to give it to somebody. Then theoretically, we could say that it even makes it worse.
Okay, I think that was straying away from like the actual thing. What would you do if H. pylori slid you a bowl of ketchup that she double dipped in?
If Obama slid me a thing of ketchup,
not Obama.
if Obama slid me a thing of ketchup that he double dipped in, yeah, sure, I'm partaking in that ketchup.
Okay, so obviously you have something personal connection with this
Here's
H.
the
pylori.
thing. Here's the thing.
On
Like,
the bush.
it's not like they're freaking licking and sucking on that freaking
Okay, so
fry and then putting it into the ketchup.
Why are you ignoring this one thing?
H. pylori.
If H. pylori slid you a bowl of ketchup, would you
What
eat?
book did they write?
I think Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I'm not.
No,
sure,
they
but-
did not. H. freaking pylori. Okay, if Obama freaking double dipped and passed me the ketchup, I'm probably still going to use that ketchup. However, I mean, I am going to feel more secure if like we're at a like Mexican restaurant or a Chex Mix or something like that, and we each get our own ball of salsa. Like that's going to make me feel more secure, but I'm not going to think any less of the bowl if I'm sharing
Okay,
it with
so
somebody.
why do you care whenever I take a chip and I throw it onto your plate?
Because you're mixing my food. I don't like my food mixed. You're that.
Okay, so then
Also, you
why do
don't freaking wash your hands.
Okay, but guess what? You said you'd eat after me, and guess what happens? The fry that is touching my hand is touching the ketchup, goes into my mouth, still touching my hand, and then it goes back into the ketchup.
But it's not like the freaking bacteria is like moving a million miles
So
per
then
second.
why would
moving
you
it-
care if I throw a chip onto your plate?
Because I don't want it. I don't want my food being mixed. I like my food without
and
freaking
second of
Cheez-Its and
all,
crackers.
How come whenever we're at a Mexican restaurant, you get mad whenever I fill your salsa to the brim?
Because it spills over onto the table.
Anyways, we just keep agreeing on this episode. Holy cow!
Green. Oh, okay. I get it. Because I guess you don't
Yeah,
care.
you said you'd eat a fry from H. pylori.
The freaking scenario that you gave us at the beginning, where Obama is like passing me the fry and then he's passing me the ketchup, like it's almost like he's enticing me to eat. He's like you know that I just freaking dipped in here. You want to eat it? Like why can't we just both be sharing ketchup?
Okay, what if like Bowser did it?
Sure. Obama,
Okay.
Bowser, I don't care. Double dipping's not that big of a deal to me. Okay, here's the difference, though. Here's the difference. Here's the difference. If somebody's like freaking putting their nasty ass fingers in the dip, or if they're freaking like slobbering on chips, yeah, I'm gonna freaking make a big deal about it. But here's the thing.
Hey,
Here's the difference between eating food off the ground and double dipping. With double dipping, it's almost inevitable. You always are gonna have that one friend who's
me.
going to double dip, and I'm not going to freaking ruin my entire meal over some one guy who's double dipping. And most people, if you're in a freaking decent friend group, most people have good oral hygiene anyway.
Yep.
So it's not like the freaking whole day is ruined if somebody does that. However, with dropping food on the ground, that is my choice. That is my choice to go down on the ground and pick up the food that's been contaminated by like 1,000 feet that's been trotting over that
Okay.
ground.
So
So we're talking about things that I do have a choice in and things that I don't have a choice in. That's why when I went to those that's why when I went to those sandwich restaurants and I got H. pylori because of the unwashed lettuce, that's why I brought that into the argument, because that was something that was outside of my ability that happened to me because of someone's inability to do something correctly.
okay. So since we agree again, I'm gonna switch the topic after this little story. It reminded me of when you're saying that people are dipping their hands everywhere. So whenever I worked in a restaurant, all right, here's a little secret. I'm not gonna. I've worked at multiple restaurants. So if you know me in real life, you don't know which restaurant I did it at. Anyways,
I'm
I was
very
working.
scared.
I was working at a restaurant, and behind the scenes, the cooks would take the fries out of like the fry bin with their bare hands and put it onto the plate. Okay. So I got used to that. So one time I went out with two plates of food on a tray, and they said, "Oh, you accidentally switched the sides. He wanted no side, I wanted fries." And I said, "Sorry about that." And I took my hand and I grabbed the stack of fries and I transferred it over to the other plate in front of the customers. I actually did that twice, but only one customer complained.
I'm a little speechless. I don't know what to say.
I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, it's just because we were in that motion so much that like I just did it. Like I didn't think anything of it. And after the first time, I didn't think anything of it until the second time I did it. Someone complained.
Well, there's multiple things that we need to address here. First of all, this does not change my stance from the earlier argument, because this is something, again, outside of
This
my
is just a
control
story.
and something that I didn't know.
So you would eat it since it was out of your control.
I would eat it if
The fries.
I saw you do it? No. But if I knew that the cooks were doing it, if I knew the cooks were doing it, also no. But if I didn't know that the cooks were doing it, probably.
Anyways, since we continue to agree, we are leaving the most controversial topic. And I'm going to win this one. I've been doing research, all right?
Research?
The most controversial topic that we're going to get, not ever, but the most controversial topic in this episode: expiration dates. Go.
Okay. Here's the thing. There's a lot of people out there that have conspiracy theories about expiration dates, about how they're a marketing scam. All right? And I'm going to be honest, I'm not one of them. I actually took a nutrition class who explained the bacteria growth that you have in your refrigerator. And ever since I took that class, I've actually taken it very seriously about how I handle food in my refrigerator. I actually sort out my food better now. But on top of that, I also pay attention to expiration dates as well. And here's why. So, for instance, refrigerated, not frozen meats should only stay in a refrigerator for 3 days, because after that 3-day mark, they start growing bacteria. Now, is that bacteria initially going to hurt you? No. But depending on what bacteria is growing, you could actually have a really serious case growing inside of your refrigerator that could potentially contaminate your entire refrigerator. So not only is that going to be hundreds and hundreds of dollars of foods lost, but you're also wasting a meal. So whenever I buy food, I try to freeze it immediately or use it immediately.
Okay, so the conspiracy theories that you're talking about are actually true. That it is actually a marketing ploy.
How is it true?
According to the FDA, there are no regulations on expiration dates. It's up to state by state. Each state has different regulation policies. Now, there's 9 states. I don't know which 9 states, but there's 9 states that do not have any policy on expiration date. And for the most part, actually no, completely, because the FDA doesn't regulate expiration dates. The people who make the food, like the people who make the companies that make chips, on I don't know, like any snacks or anything. I'm not sure how it is with like actual food, like meat and stuff like that. But the people who make, like, I know for a fact, snacks, they put the best by date, like when it's like best by then this date, that is based off of when their food will taste the best. And the thing with you said that with the refrigerator is true. Food, the only like food can be kept longer past the expiration date. It's actually the thing that like will ruin it is if you leave it out for a certain amount of time, or it's like the refrigerator temperature isn't a certain way. If it's too warm in the refrigerator, the food will go bad. So it's stuff like that. But if the refrigerator was like kept up with, you took proper care
Okay,
of
the
your food,
refrigerator or the freezer? Because I don't really care if something's over its expiration date if it's in the freezer, but if it's in the refrigerator, then that's a different story.
So okay, so if it's in the refrigerator, the USDA says eggs can last 3 to 5 days, or sorry, 3 to 5 weeks after the sell by date. Canned goods obviously are indefinitely, and according to a Harvard study, even after milk spoils, it's safe to drink. It doesn't pose any health risk because the because when it's pasteurized, that gets all the harmful bacteria out. So they actually say the way to test if something's good or bad is to like basically see if there's like, so like with meats, if there's a smell to it, if it like how it looks. They would say don't pay too much attention to the expiration date.
But those studies are about those 9 states, right? Or is it across
No,
the
it's in
board?
general. It's across the board. So it was about how the expiration dates in general do not matter, and food can go past the expiration date as long as you take good care of it. Because the FDA doesn't have any regulations on expiration dates.
Okay, so we both agree that you need to take care of your food. So, for instance, I have like a good refrigerator biome. Like I've got my fruits and vegetables in a cabinet. I've got my cheeses by themselves in a cabinet, and I have my meats by themselves in a cabinet. And then my condiments and stuff are just kind of spread out, and milk and whatever. So we can agree on that. You got to take care of your food.
Yeah, the only thing that has an expiration like that, like has a policy on expiration dates, is baby food.
Okay, so my question is, those 9 states that do not have a policy, do you see an excessive use of expiration dates? Like, do they abuse their power of expiration dates, or do they under abuse the expiration dates? Do they just kind of let everyone roam free for whatever they want with their food? Because here's what I'm thinking when you tell me these things. If you're telling me that 9 out of the 50 states do not have any policy on these things, I want to go to those states and see what their expiration dates actually say. Because if they have no policy on expiration dates, what I think that's going on are these corporations are actually making the expiration dates shorter than what they're supposed to be, and that way that you get it at the best, freshest time
I
to
mean, yeah,
taste the
that's a
best.
possibility. I didn't look too deep. Like I said, I can't name the 9 states, but
Right.
I didn't look too deeply into it. But I did read that the expiration dates are responsible for 20% of wasted food. They said 20. I'm pretty sure it said 20% of food goes wasted because of.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. If I'm going to be honest, I really don't think 20% is that big of a number. Like, it's like, obviously we shouldn't waste food, but I don't think it's that big of a number, first of all. Second of all, let me go back to my previous argument. I I want to compare the states that use expiration dates and have a policy around them to the states that don't have the policies. That's what would convince me to be on your side. Because if the states that don't have any policy and they're abusing the expiration date, like oh man, this expires in one day, then I think that would completely throw your argument out the window. Because when the corporations are let free, then they're actually abusing the system more than actually helping us. Whereas states that do have policies in place, maybe are they more regulated? Like come on, guys, you can't be wasting food like after 2 days on the shelf? Or are they more strict? Like, man, you can't have foods that go past 4 days. Like you didn't, you kind of grace, you kind of we got a generalized idea of what you're talking about, but there's no specifics in place, if you know what I mean. Like how
like I
are
said,
they?
well, I mean, like, do you agree? Like, I mean, like you, like I see what you're saying with that, but the fact that, I mean, I think your whole thing was you think that the expiration dates, like you said, not in the podcast, but like to me privately, you said you throw food out before the expiration date, right? Like you think it's wrong because you throw it out before the expiration date.
No, I usually throw it out at the expiration date, and most of the time I usually find my food after the expiration date that I throw away. Very rarely will I throw away food on the day of the expiration date. In fact, most of the time when I see that it expires, I actually cook it. I don't waste it.
But do you not okay? But do you not see how it's like kind of skewed because the FDA themselves are saying that there's not a regulation? Like they're saying like, yeah, we're not going to regulate the expiration dates up to the company. Like now it's like company to company.
That's
Like
that's just in 9 states though.
no. In general, the FDA does not have any control over the
Yeah, that's because
expiration dates.
they leave it up to the states to do that.
Right, but that means state by state it's gonna be different, which means that like there's the expiration dates are skewed to a degree. Like if I went to freaking Rhode Island in comparison to freaking New Hampshire or California, those are all gonna be different.
Okay, can I try and propose a statement, an idea?
Yeah.
So let's say that you are a country as big as the United States, all right? And you have a state like Alaska where it's pretty much cold year round.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a state like Miami, or not Miami, you have a state like Florida, which is much, much closer to the equator than Alaska.
Yeah.
And you have foods growing in both of those states. Which state is the food going to expire faster because of the heat?
Well, I think it goes back to, like I said, the refrigeration. So, like, if you keep proper care of your stuff, like they might expire at the same time because the fridge, like, a fridge can be too hot in Alaska, too warm in Alaska. You know, you can turn the temperature up.
Right, but expiration date also accounts for travel time as well, because Walmart is not freaking bagging up cheese, and I mean they do have a meat section, but they're not actually the ones slaughtering the animals there. They get the meat shipped to them, and there's a logistical part of it as well, because you're transporting meat and cheese from one area to now the retail store to where you go buy it. So if we're in Alaska, where naturally those 18-wheelers are probably, those 18-wheelers, boats, airplanes, they're probably going to stay cooler a lot longer when transporting those goods. And we don't even have to go that far. We could go Maine or even Montana, where in the summertime it can get as high as like maybe 70 to 80 degrees, and then in the wintertime it gets incredibly low. So
okay, if you're talking about the stores, there's a difference between the sell by, use by, and best by date. The stores use the sell by date. So the companies are going to give them the best sell by date, which shows them how long they're allowed to keep it on the shelves for. And that's obviously going to, differ from state to state. Like if there's someone coming in, which I mean, I don't know how freaking truck drivers work, but like let's say someone came in from California, they went all the way to freaking Florida, that sell by date's going to be a little different than someone who went from Kansas to Ohio.
Right, but we're talking about expiration dates, because I know all that. Like I know the sell by date.
No, but you're saying that. But you're talking about the stores.
Mm-hmm. No, we're talking about the state by state regulations.
Right,
the idea that I'm proposing to you is why is it up to the FDA when every state is different? If it were up to the FDA, then Alaska would be as screwed as Florida in terms of shipping.
Well, I'm saying, okay. Well, the shipping has to do with the stores. Like the shipping is showing when it ships to a store, it's not like it ships directly to the consumer. When it ships to the stores, so the sell by date is going to be a little bit. Everything's going to be based off of the sell by date. So it's going to say sell by this date. So, like if someone's sent to Alaska, the sell by date's going to be different.
Right, but you're arguing. Isn't it weird that the FDA doesn't have any policies on it? And I'm saying no, it's not weird, because we have an incredibly diverse terrain in the United States. I don't want California to have the same rules as Florida, and I don't want Florida to have the same rules as Alaska, because they have completely different terrains.
Well, it's like I said, most of the expiration dates, uh, and this is nationwide, is based off of the manufacturer. I think that the manufacturer, and typically those are going to be typically the manufacturer, or whatever you call it, the freaking product maker, makes it to where the food is just going to taste the best.
Correct, but you also mentioned earlier from the article that 9 states have zero policies on expiration dates and the 41 other states do. So the manufacturers have to abide by those policies that are in place.
Let me look up a random, like, give me a random state.
Arkansas.
Frick.
Are you writing or are you typing?
No, I'm typing.
It sounds like you're like writing something down. I was like, oh, what is he doing?
No. So I'm trying to freaking see. So Arkansas food date label guidelines are primarily dictated by the state's adoption of the FDA food code, requiring specific dates labeling for certain foods like mollusks, shellfish, and ready-to-eat refrigerated time temperature control for safety foods. For these items, a date by which the food should be consumed or discarded must be clearly marked on the label.
So, what I'm saying, the idea that I'm trying to propose to you is that the reason why the FDA doesn't have a clear all around policy, as you stated from the article, is because I think it needs to be up to the states, because each state has a different environment, they have different things that they're producing, and they have different things that they're shipping out and shipping in. So, the fact that the fact that you mentioned that the FDA has no like overall policy on that doesn't really faze me, Andy. That doesn't convince me to be on your side.
Okay, so if I looked at the Arkansas ones, who is responsible for what? Producers. They are directly responsible for applying accurate date labels and labeling information to their products in compliance with state and federal regulations.
Okay.
So it's up to the producers.
Right, based upon the policies created by the state.
What are the policies created by the state? That's the thing. Like, it's just a whole like loophole or whatever.
No, okay, but we're opening a whole new can of worms here. So what you're trying to say is that the corporations in Arkansas are paying the FDA to make the policies fit their profit margins.
Okay, look at this. Okay, I found this. In Arkansas, food makers can't just slap on any date they want. For most foods, putting a date like Best By or Use By is optional, but if they do put one, it has to be true and not misleading. Baby formulas and stuff like that, they have to have specific labels by law. If a company lies with the date, like saying the milk is good for 2 years, that's illegal. So what they do to get around that is they'll say, okay, use it by this day, and it falls within the time that it's. So like, obviously they're not going to say milk is good for 2 years, but what they can say is, okay, the milk's going to taste the best right here, and it's going to start to taste a little bad right here. So they're going to put the expiration date right before it tastes bad, but not whenever it actually like genuinely goes bad.
Okay, but as an individual, I understand the use by, best by, and expiration date. I understand that. I know what those mean. And when I have milk, I do the smell test. And when I have meat, I do the smell test. However, what we're arguing is expiration dates. Are expiration dates important? And I think, yes, they are important, because they do. I think they have a better idea of how safe your food is to eat than Best Buy and Use By. And when I buy groceries, I tend to try and use those groceries within that week. I try to buy as fresh as possible. I don't really like buying preservatives or snacks and stuff like that. I like to try and buy healthy foods, and I end up using those foods within a week or two anyway. So I never really have to worry about expiration dates. However, if I have one of those weeks where I'm out of town or doing something like that, then yeah, I got to go down and look at the expiration date. And what I try to do is, if there's an expiration date, an EXP date, I try to use it by that date or on that date. And then after that, I do a smell test. And if it smells bad, then I throw it out.
Okay, so it says with expiration dates in Arkansas and in the U.S., and the U.S. in general, most foods don't legally have to have an expiration date. The only big exception is baby formula. For other foods like chips, milk, cereal, companies usually put a sell by or use by date. Those aren't the same as true expiration dates. They're more about quality. If a company does use an actual expiration date, it has to be honest and not misleading. They can't say something lasts way longer than it usually does. So expiration dates are mostly just for baby formula. Everything else is usually just best if used by. So do you see, okay, you always see on the thing best by. You never see like expiration date. You know
Not
what I mean?
necessarily. There are some meats that I see expiration date. I do see what you're saying. A lot of meats do nowadays say used by and best by, which I also use as well to my discretion. However, like I said earlier, I don't usually have that issue with used by and best by dates. However, I do think that I will argue that they are a generalized good gauge of how healthy your food is. If you have had food that are 2 or 3 days over the use by or best by date, it does kind of stink a little bit.
You think that if you have chips 3 days over the use by date, then it's gonna be bad.
I have had chips that are days over the use by and best by date and they're stale. I don't think it's like it'll like be detrimental to your health, but then we get into this extreme where we're going by food basis when we're like, oh, since chips, you can eat chips 3 days after a use by date. Can you eat steak after 3 days of a best by date? You see, and that's the difficult part about this
Oh,
argument.
I think the biggest example of this is milk because that's the one that smells the worst. It like there's literally a visual change in how it is. It probably freaking doesn't taste good either. But the Harvard study said that milk is not actually harmful to you. I mean, again, that's an extreme. Like, I'm not gonna expect you to drink spoiled milk, but like technically milk is not harmful. Like you could drink milk after it spoils,
Okay,
you
for
know.
the sake of the argument, we've heard me talk a lot on this topic. For the sake of the argument, let's hear you talk a little bit. Do you drink spoiled milk after the best by date?
I do not.
Like when it starts stinking, do you start drinking?
Well, maybe I do. I wouldn't. I kind of stop whenever. Like I wouldn't drink it chunky, but I have drank like like sour milk.
I mean, was it? Did you enjoy it, or was it like, man?
I didn't enjoy it, but you see what I'm saying. But it's like, I mean, like
But your argument is that those dates they are a scam. But you're proving me by saying
no,
the
my
milk
it's
is
not
a
that it's
little
a scam.
sour.
No, it's not that it's a scam. I'm saying like it really doesn't. Like if I see something in the fridge and it says expired by this, I'm not like, oh well, it's expired. Like I'll probably try it. Honestly, like I don't even really look at it. I try it. Like I've had freaking ground beef in the fridge, and guess what? It's turning gray, and I eat it, and it's fine. It stinks, but I eat it.
And you're telling me you got an an
Yeah, because
enjoyable
you just
experience
season
out of
you
eating
see
the gray meat?
yeah, it's like I seasoned it. It tastes fine. The whole thing, I think you're having this like misinterpretation of me, like of like what I'm saying is like I'm not saying like don't listen to the expiration test. I'm saying that they're like it's not as big of a deal as what they're making it seem. Like if something's like a couple days over the expiration date, you know, probably not that big of a deal. If it's a couple weeks, depending on the food, maybe a big deal, but probably you know it's not gonna harm you. You know what I
Here's
mean?
here's the deal. I see what you're saying. However, the topics that you've brought up have not convinced me at all.
They haven't convinced you that the expiration date's like you said you see food and you throw it out the expiration date.
No. I see food and I try to cook it that same day.
Right, but I know, but like your whole thing is if something's like like I go by like taste test. I'll be honest with you. Like I said, when the meat's gray, I just taste the meat and it tastes fine. If it doesn't taste good, I'm gonna throw it away. Um, what exactly like what? Okay, if you were to dumb down your argument to a general statement, what would that be?
And I was just thinking about it, and I have the perfect one.
Okay, what is it?
Charles, this one's for you. This is a question for you.
Okay.
How often have you eaten food or tasted food that was a little funky and the expiration date was accurate?
And it was accurate.
Yeah, it was
The
accurate.
thing is, here's the thing with like mean expiration date. I think my opinion is going to be a little not biased, but I think it's going to be a little skewed because I have certain things that I want to eat, and I usually eat that before the expiration date. The things that I don't eat before the expiration date are the things that are left in the pantry, and I have no food left, and it's like a couple months after the expiration date. And sometimes I eat that because you know not all the time are they bad, but sometimes you know but like again like where does that line fall? Like obviously a couple months after the expiration date, it's gonna be not good.
Right. Okay. So let me go ahead and ask you again. How many times have you eaten something past the expiration date and it was accurate?
I don't think that that's a good question to ask.
But you're saying that the expiration dates are kind of
Yeah,
meaningless.
but you need like no. I'm saying like
But
I'm not
if
saying
the
that
argument,
I'm not saying that
okay.
there's no such thing as an expiration date. I'm saying that like obviously if you said like if I said oh my gosh this freaking yogurt's been sitting in my fridge for a year, it's
No,
past
I'm
the
not talking
expiration
about the
date.
true expiration date. I'm talking about the so-called marketed expiration date
Right.
that we opened the
I'm
argument up.
saying I don't
How
think that
many
it's a good
times?
I don't think that it's a good I think you need to give a time frame because you could say how many times have you eaten something past the expiration or the marketed expiration date and it's not good and guess what I could have said like well the only time I do that is like if it's like freaking 6 months old you know
Well, that's
I'm
why
saying
over the years we've changed the language. It used to be expiration date, and now it's use by. That's why we've changed the language. We no longer say expiration date on a
no
lot
what
of
I'm
things, as you
what
mentioned earlier. Now we use by.
no what I'm
Use
saying
by is that time frame. This is the time frame that you have the best quality. After
so
that,
if you
the
think that you
quality
eat
starts
so you
going
think if
down.
you eat it a day after the quality is significantly different.
Sometimes I think it depends on the food. There are some food where it like the expiration day is of that day, and I cook it and it's fine. And then there's some where like it's like a day over, and I do the smell test and I smell something coming, but it's not an exaggerated anything. So um, but like it, most of the time, those dates have been pretty accurate, and usually a day or two afterwards, they start tasting weird. They
I
start
don't think that it
smelling
tastes weird.
weird.
I don't think I've ever had a food where 2 days after the expiration date it tastes weird.
I have like chips. Like I've had chips that were like 1 or 2 days after the expiration date, and they were
That are
stale.
unopened.
Yeah, that were stale. I had one the other week. I had some.
I've never had
I bought some Cheetos at a Dollar General the other day, and like the bag was like faded. I was like, oh, this is a little weird, but
you know what
okay.
actually okay, I
The
will say this.
the bag was faded. Wait, let me finish my story. So the bag was faded, and I was like, that's a little weird. I'll buy it anyway. So I bought it, and
Oh
I
my gosh.
and I opened up the bag and started eating it, and I was like, what the heck? And I checked the expiration date. It had expired by like a week, and they left it up in the storefront. And
Good.
the bag was the bag was faded. It was unopened, but the bag was faded. I was like, "What the heck? How did they freaking just sold me some expired food?" It was
You
like
could
it had
probably
all the
sue him.
signs.
You could
It
probably
had,
sue him.
I don't. I wish I had the receipt, or I would, because it had all the it had all the signs too. I took your advice and I just didn't care. And then look, I freaking wasted.
Did you get sick?
No, but I wasted like $2 or $3 of how much I spent on that bag of
Okay,
food.
I will say that I mean, okay. Before you freaking talk, let me finish, all right? And
Okay.
before you freaking jump. Okay. So, I will say I have had chips that are a couple of days past the expiration date and they are a little stale. But I mean, I've had other foods and they're okay. Like a week after their expiration date, 2 weeks. Like sometimes it depends. So I do think that we're both right to a degree. Like I said, I think it's company to company. Like the producers are responsible for it. I do think that there's companies out there that are like, okay, well, this is like the best it's gonna taste. But I will say, like the fact that you could eat certain things like 2 days after and it doesn't taste that different, it kind of shows like the companies are kind of like just trying to push well this is when it's the best and they don't want you to keep the food for that long and they're gonna want you to buy the product so I think we're right to a degree. I agree with you in a sense and I think that
Okay.
uh
Can I propose a second thing? Okay. So let's try to come to an agreement.
can we just agree that
The
I won?
so no. So the majority of foods that have a best by date, can you agree that they are correct? The majority. Like eating them a couple days after,
I
they
would
smell a little
say
funky, the quality has gone down. Because that's why we've changed the language anyway. Because when people said expiration date, yeah, it was kind of forcing you to throw the food out. But now that we've changed the language to best by, now it kind of changes the perspective on that food. And now people are more willing to eat that food after its expiration date, and it has either similar or less than quality of the Best By date.
I would say depending on the food. I mean, I get what you're coming. I don't know if it's the majority of food because, like I said, I've had a lot of food that's like past the expiration date and it's fine.
But like,
But I see what you're saying.
Like how many days though? Because like,
I mean, like I've said, I've watched the meat turn gray and I ate it and it tasted fine. So I think it's like I said. I think that we could wrap our two arguments up and say the expiration date is accurate to a degree, but since it's up to the companies, some like they're kind of wanting to push the best product out so that they have a good image in people's heads.
yeah, and to argue against that, I would be saying that all companies are doing the right thing, which I do not believe at all. There's no way a sane person could argue that every single company is doing their part. So I do agree with you on that.
Okay, so again, this is the episode of agreements, and also today we're sponsored by Kanashi.
No, we're not freaking sponsored by Kanashi. Quit saying that.
Also, it's not called Kanashi; it's called like Kelshi or something like that.
It's like Kahlshi. Kalshi, yeah. I don't know why I was calling it that earlier. Just Graphia. Anyway, if we get sponsored by Kalshi, I'll freaking do those freaking.
Okay, listen. Okay, so I misspoke last episode. We're not sponsored by Kanashi. We're sponsored by Kalshi, the #1 betting app. You can bet on anything in the world.
Stop.
You can bet on the weather.
Stop.
You can bet on it. I saw a thing. You can bet on a South Park's gonna say Tylenol. You can bet on anything.
No,
we're sponsored by them. By the product.
Freaking.
And listen, if you use code SPANK, guess what they do?
Charles,
they send you
stop. We're gonna get sued.
They send you a vial of Tren.
We're gonna get sued.
Use code SPANK and you're gonna get
there's no spank. There's no code. There's no code. However, if Kalshi would like to sponsor us, I would be down, and I will do the ad reads.
Well, good news. We're sponsored by
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Roll the outro.
Hey there, it's the other Spank and Judah. We appreciate you listening in on our show, Ramble About Life. If you enjoy the show, follow the channel and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Also, spank you later? What in the world? Did Charles write this? Bruh, freaky outro. Anyway, I'm gonna skip that. Okay, let us know what we should debate next in the comments. Stay awesome and stay safe, y'all. Peace.